Merci, Madame la Présidente, et c'est avec grand plaisir que je prends la parole aujourd'hui au sujet du projet de loi C2, la loi visant à fournir un soutien supplémentaire en réponse à la COVID-19. Ce projet de loi vise à créer plusieurs mesures de soutien importantes, y compris pour les secteurs les plus durement touchés par la pandémie et les travailleurs et les petites entreprises qui font face à des défis importants comme dans les secteurs du tourisme et de l'hospitalité. Et ne vous détrompez pas, l'impact de la COVID-19 sur les travailleurs et les entrepreneurs œuvrant dans ces secteurs est absolument dévastateur. Leurs recettes ont diminué de près de 50 %, passant de 104,4 milliards de dollars en 2019 à 53,4 milliards de dollars en 2020. Alors que les emplois directement attribuables au tourisme ont diminué de 41 % au cours de la même période. Et les premières projections des revenus de l'été 2021 prévoient environ la moitié des revenus de l'été 2019. La moitié, Madame la Présidente. Malgré ces défis, les propriétaires d'entreprises touristiques, leurs travailleurs, ils ont tous fait preuve de ténacité, de résilience, s'assurant que leurs services seront là quand la crise sera bel et bien derrière nous. Et selon beaucoup d'entre eux, c'est seulement en raison du soutien du gouvernement fédéral que les travailleurs de ce secteur peuvent continuer à payer leur épicerie et garder un toit au-dessus de la tête. Mais nous savons que de nombreux acteurs du secteur du tourisme et de l'accueil sont encore en difficulté. Je parle des hôtels, des aéroports, des agences de voyage, des croisières, nos théâtres et crucialement de nos restaurants. Restaurants make our main streets what they are, and you've heard me say this many times in the House, Madam Speaker. I have spoken directly with countless impacted restaurant operators who tell me just how hard the last 20 months have been, how they were the first to close and often the last to reopen, and how even now many of them are only partially open. As Parliamentary Secretary for the Minister of Small Business in the last mandated, I represented the government on many different working groups, including the Restaurant Revival Working Group, where I worked closely with Restaurants Canada and heard firsthand from independent restaurateurs across our great country. The bill that we have before us today responds directly to their plea for continued support from the federal government as we continue to fight COVID-19. Permettez-moi maintenant, Madame la Présidente, de vous parler très concrètement de ce que ce projet de loi contient pour les secteurs durement touchés. Le projet de loi C2 fournira un soutien à travers deux nouveaux volets principaux. Le premier, le programme de relance pour le tourisme et l'accueil, afin de soutenir les hôtels, les voyagistes, les agents de voyage, les restaurants et bien d'autres, avec des subventions salariales et locatives allant jusqu'à 75 %. Ensuite, le programme de relance pour les entreprises les plus durement touchées, qui offrira des subventions pouvant atteindre 50 % aux entreprises ayant subi des pertes importantes et durables. Additionnellement, le gouvernement propose de prolonger le programme d'embauche pour la relance économique au taux de 50 % avec la possibilité d'une nouvelle prolongation au besoin. You see, Madam Speaker, I find it very important to lay out some of the details of what is in this bill that we are debating today, because it often seems that some members in this place would like to debate something else entirely. For example, on Friday, I believe it was the member of Carleton in his 20-minute speech on C2 mentioned inflation 33 times. That's about once every 36 seconds. How many times did he mention tourism or hospitality or small businesses? Zero. None at all, Madam Speaker. I would like to be very clear.
Order. I do want to remind members they will have an opportunity for questions and comments. I would ask them to hold off until then. L'honorable député de Outremont.
I would like to be very clear, Madam Speaker. Inflation is a very real concern, and Canadians are feeling its impact, absolutely. But as experts have pointed out, inflation is a global phenomenon driven by rising energy prices, a global economic rebound, supply chain constraints, and many other factors. Inflation is unfortunately high almost everywhere at the moment. Yes, it's 4.7% here in Canada, but it's 6.2% in the United States, 6.2% in Mexico, 4.4% in the European Union, 4.2% in the United Kingdom. The G20 average is actually well above 5%. And if the Conservatives are saying that our policies to support Canadians and small businesses through COVID-19 are directly linked to the increase in inflation, well, let me debunk that argument as well. Let's compare the data on inflation pre-pandemic and now among OECD countries. Between the late 2019 period and today, the inflation rate in these 38 countries increased by an average of 2.4%. The United States, for example, saw a 3.6% increase, Spain 3.1%, Germany 2.4%, New Zealand 3.5%. In that same time frame, Canada's inflation increased by 2.1%. It's crystal clear from these figures that the choice that we have made to support Canadians through the pandemic is not the cause of inflation. So maybe inflation isn't the indicator that we wish to look at. What about the deficit? The member for Carleton said, and I quote, "COVID required that we spend money, but we did not need to have the biggest deficit in the G20." First, let me begin by saying that it's very good to hear the member now recognize that spending was needed at all, which is a change in tone from calling such spending big fat government programs that his party did not believe in. But more importantly, Madam Speaker, much more importantly, the premise of this statement is completely wrong. Canada does not have the largest deficit in the G20. No, Canada's 2020 deficit was smaller than the US, smaller than the United Kingdom, and the last time I checked, both of those countries were still very much a part of the G20. The implication of the statement made by the Conservative member is that this was somehow a waste, that we have nothing to show for the deficit. Nothing, Madam Speaker, could be further from the truth. The numbers speak for themselves. $90 billion was spent for the CERB and the CRB. $80 billion was spent on the wage subsidy and rent subsidy. Another $10 billion was sent in the form of direct payments to seniors and low-income households. $17 billion was spent to support provinces and territories through the Safe Restart Agreement. Those four items alone account for 3/4 of the federal deficit. Which one of those programs, what part of that spending would the Conservatives have scrapped? I venture that the answer would be none. And that's why, despite the rhetoric that we hear today, the members opposite voted for the wage subsidy and the rent subsidy and the CERB. The reality is Canada had the fiscal room to intervene, and our Liberal government did exactly that. As the IMF just stated last month, and I quote, "Government budget support measures during the COVID-19 pandemic have saved lives and saved jobs." Not only did Canada have among the lowest COVID death rates in the Western world, not only did Canada get back to pre-pandemic employment numbers faster than other countries, Canada still has a AAA credit rating. Canada still has the lowest net debt in the G7. And last year, Canada actually saw its debt interest payments decrease by more than $4 billion. The fact that we spent to support Canadians did not harm our economy, Madam Speaker. To the contrary. The choice today is very clear. It's not to relitigate the COVID support measures our government put in place, though I am more than happy to do that any day of the week. No, what we are debating today is whether we will continue to support our restaurants, our hotels, our travel agents, our parks, our museums, our theaters. All of that is incredibly important, Madam Speaker, and all of that is worth voting for. Today, I would encourage all members of this House to leave the rhetoric aside, continue to support Canadians through the pandemic. Thank you.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Calgary Rocky Ridge.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. And in February, I believe it was February of 2020, I asked this member when she was the Parliamentary Secretary for Small Business about the absence of support for businesses, new businesses that opened their doors either just before or just after the pandemic was declared. In her answer then, she sort of teased the listeners by saying this was a problem they were aware of and had an imminent solution that we should stay tuned for. That was, I don't know how many months, 8 or so months ago. There has been no such program. There's been no such, they have not addressed this issue, and I wonder if this was something that might have better been addressed through this bill, and whether we should keep waiting for those businesses.
L'honorable député de Outremont.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to thank the member for his work during the course of the last 20 or so months for small businesses. We did indeed have that conversation. I believe it was in February 2021. And absolutely, we have increased the number of businesses that we are including in our programs. Of course, as the member opposite knows, that it is important that we make sure that public money does go to businesses that can prove a loss from pre-pandemic times, which is not possible for new businesses. We are continuing to look at this as a possibility in order to move forward to help these businesses. But, Madam Speaker, it's really not clear to me what the Conservative position is, because at once they say that we're spending too much, and now the Conservative member wants us to spend more. Which is it?
Questions et commentaires. L'honorable député de Drummond.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Pendant la campagne électorale et même bien avant, le Bloc québécois, on continuait de dire et on continue de dire encore aujourd'hui qu'il y a des secteurs qui sont plus touchés que d'autres, qui vont plus de misère que d'autres à relever de la pandémie. Le secteur de l'aéronautique, l'aérospatial, le secteur du tourisme, l'industrie de l'hôtellerie, tout ça c'est bien. Mais la culture. Madame la Présidente, j'entendais ma collègue d'Outremont parler avec beaucoup de passion, nous faire un appel à appuyer ce projet de loi pour venir en aide aux hôtels, aux restaurants, au secteur du tourisme et à toutes ces industries. Pourquoi les artistes ne sont pas là-dedans? Pourquoi les artisans, les travailleurs culturels ne sont pas dans ces deux? Qu'est-ce qui justifie cette absence grossière, Madame la Présidente?
L'honorable député de Outremont.
Merci. Permettez-moi de préciser, si ce n'était pas clair dans mon discours, que nos théâtres, nos festivals, les arts sont inclus dans le projet de loi C2 que nous avons devant nous. C'est très important. Je suis fière que le secteur touristique comprend le secteur des arts dans le projet de loi que nous débattons aujourd'hui. Et comme mon honorable collègue l'a entendu, pas plus tard que la semaine dernière, la ministre des Finances avait déclaré que nous allons mettre de l'avant un projet de loi pour les travailleurs autonomes, les travailleurs indépendants, y compris les artistes. Et pour avoir énormément d'artistes dans le Myland et dans le plateau, dans mon comté, je suis très fière de pouvoir continuer à les appuyer.